Hey, this is Picard. I'm here to talk about the next chapter in the Q source, which is F-3's Manual of Virtuous Leadership. And this chapter is about group, which is subtitled A Voluntary Combination of Two or More People. But I think what this chapter really is about is belonging, because if you're just fitting in, and if you don't have a group to connect with, or if you're in a group that doesn't provide a sense of belonging, you're going to have disconnection and loneliness. But if you are part of a group where you feel belong, that leads to growth. So in order to talk about group and all the concepts in this chapter, I feel like I need to talk about the elephant in the room, which is a group that's very near and dear to my heart and really is the subject matter of all of these videos, and that is F-3. And if you're not familiar with F-3, it's a leadership development group that plants workout groups for men for the invigoration of the community. And they just have a few basic core principles. It's free, it's held outdoors, rain or shine, and it's led in a rotating fashion. So it's something that's led by the peer, on a rotating basis. And it's open to all men. So regardless of what shape you're in, or if you're not in shape at all, you are welcome, because what F3 is really all about is fostering connection and trust, and maximizing proximity in the community, and encouraging people to be candid and to celebrate mistakes and to strive to get better and be better. So I'm passionate about all of this because it's been extremely impactful for me. And so when it comes to talking about groups that are effective, I would say I'm a living proof that F3 is an effective group, an effective organization. So just want to give a quick story of my experience joining F3. When I found F3, it was in the midst of the pandemic, and I was not in a good place. I am in sales and account management, and I've always been successful with being face-to-face or side-by-side with my clients. And during that year, we had to shelter in place and we had to work remotely, and I was cut off from my community. I had limited connection with my customers, my coworkers, and then especially family and friends. And that really led to a lot of burnout. So it was in the fall of 2020, I was suffering from symptoms of depression and anxiety. I was still trying to put on a happy face, even though I was miserable, but I was not performing well at work, and the home life was not a good thing. And so I didn't want to share, though. I was trying to put on that happy face because I was ashamed to admit my problems to anyone, and I was afraid that I would just burden them with my feelings or my needs. But so when my wife came home, and she had heard about F3 through a friend of hers, and she encouraged me to go, it was a lifeline. It really turned everything around for me, because not only did I get the immediate benefits of just getting outdoors and getting regular exercise and just getting into better shape, what was really impactful was that I found community, and I was proximate with others, especially other guys having similar struggles, and I was no longer alone. I felt like I could be myself. I felt welcome, and I found that sense of belonging. So 3 years later, I've continued to just relearn this lesson of how powerful belonging can be, and having safe groups and encouraging groups can really be life changers. But I've really tried to apply that learning to many aspects of my life. So I share this because that sense of belonging, it really is a game changer. Every time I lean into it and I practice just being real and authentic with others, I gain trust, I gain safety, energy, clarity. In other words, I find advantage. I open up bandwidth in my life. It frees up time and energy, clears up uncertainty, and it allows me to then be at choice and choose how I want to invest in other things, or in the things that are most important to me. So by learning this lesson, I've been able to invest in myself, in my marriage, my kids, my work, finances, self-development, and then just like having fun, doing things that matter, that just enjoying life. So F3 is just one example. it's just one type of, or one group. And there's many other groups that we are get involved in different stages or different areas of our lives. And so it's like, how do we apply that belonging? How does it carry over to other aspects of life? And what groups does it matter most to carry it into? So it gives us some of the framework from this chapter to work with. F3, or the Q source, it really starts with community. So there's basically three groups. You have community, organizations, and teams. Community is your people that you're most proximate to. And so that's like people you live in the same house with. It's the people you spend the most of your time with. It's your family, your friends, your neighbors, your church, your school, your work, all of those things. And then it kind of goes out in rings outside of that. You've got like your house, and then your street, and then your neighborhood, and your town, and your county, and state, and so on. But the thing about proximity is that's what creates the most influence, and it makes it the most important. The tighter you get to the center of that proximity ring in your life. So that's where you want to start. And so, when we spend the most of our time, and the most critical relationships in our lives are with our spouses and with our kids, I would say if you were worried about where to start fostering a sense of belonging, it should be in your home. Because it has a snowball effect. As soon as you find that bandwidth for yourself, then of course you want to give it away and help others realize it. And if you can help the people that you live with, and create that environment at home, it will continue to trickle down into your kids' lives and your wife's life, and then you can go from there. If you're not safe at home, it impacts all aspects of your life. It touches everything. So why not start there? And a good example is a healthy community occurs when its members have as much safety as they believe they need, and the opportunity to be as significant as they believe they want to be. And so a good example is the greater the proximity, the greater the importance and the influence. So like the governor of a state is still going to have more influence over his or her family than the people he governs, because he's going to have that spirit of belonging at home first. And so that should be everyone's top priority. And that will lead to the greatest amount of advantage found or growth realized. So you think about like the movies and the books and stuff that show the opposite of a healthy community. Like I immediately go to like the dystopias, the post-apocalyptic, zombie movies and stuff. Everyone's just trying to survive, right? You're in that survival mode. Everyone's desperate, and they might hurt others just to take care of themselves, because that's the scarcity that dictates it, and yes, it happens in the movies in like those extreme ways, but it really reflects how it can happen in our life in subtle ways. We can have those times at work or at home, or really any of our teams and people that we work with that cause us to feel unsafe and feel threatened. And so then you might not be a team player. You might make the choice that really is in your best interest, because you feel that scarcity, you feel that fear. And so there's a continuum that I learned through F3. It's the SIR continuum, and it stands for servant or survivor continuum. And so that's where if you are in that survival state, that scarcity state, it will make it so you can't care for others, and you're barely struggling to care for yourself. But if you can be on the other side of that spectrum and have your needs met, and be able to care for yourself and stand on your own 2 feet, then suddenly you have more bandwidth and more ability to like give grace and be forgiving and be supportive of others. So that's why I want to zoom in on one topic, or one word in the statement here. It's the voluntary combination of two or more. because I think voluntary is a key word. It's agency, it's belonging, because everyone is working on their own ability to free up their own bandwidth. And so then, just like I said, the bandwidth allows us to choose to invest in what's most important to us. So everyone involved in a team needs to be able to have the choice to be investing their bandwidth in that group. So let me go back, because I was talking about community and I mentioned organizations and teams. So community it just exists. It doesn't have a mission or a purpose other than to just be. It's that place. Organizations are missional. They have a reason to exist. So that's where you see businesses or government or other things that serve the community or exist to do something, to achieve something. And teams are the same way. Except organizations don't require proximity, whereas teams do, because effective teams need proximity and purpose. So that's where I wanted to talk about voluntary, because just like your marriage, it's a voluntary combination. Both parties are required to commit. And so just like I was saying, starting at the home is most important. Your most important relationship is your wife, your spouse, and it's voluntary. So it allows that agency, that belonging to start right then and there. And that's why if people are using authority in their groups and in their teams, if you're trying to have control over others or essentially boss people around, it takes away that agency. So in my opinion, I think authority doesn't have a place in effective teams. It's a shared leadership. It requires a combination voluntarily. And similar to that Sir continuum, there's a few types of behavior that can show in organizations or teams. So that's where we have a few other weird words that we want to use from the Q source, and that's the lizard. So the lizard is the type that is seeking the advantage, regardless of what tactics or steps need to be taken, but in a virtuous manner. So you're just always seeking that. You're always working as an effective team and seeking that advantage. The other types is bullfrog, where the bullfrog is just trying to protect its lily pad, like it's static and it doesn't want to lose anything. It's just trying to maintain the status quo. And then if it's a bad enough situation, the bullfrog type can turn into a leech type. So that's kind of that survivor, where you are taking the leech is trying to preserve itself at the expense of the community or at the expense of those it serves. So to bring it all home, dynamic teams are at the heart of healthy community and effective organizations, and that the dynamic and effective teams start with belonging. So that's my spiel for the day. I challenge you to think about, do you have places or groups where you feel like you belong? What makes it feel that way? And if you feel like you're having to just put on the face and you're masking, why? Is it because you're threatened by something and you don't have that safety? Or just, are you in a tough spot and you're just trying to survive and fit in? And if that's the case, ask for help. Try to see what you can do to change that situation, because others will be in that space where they want to be a servant leader and they want to give you grace and help you out. And if you haven't been involved in F3, and if you're at all interested, please check it out. Join it. Come out to a workout. Like you said, we leave no man behind, and we leave no man where we find him. And if you want to talk more, I'm looking for clients. I'm trying to set up a coaching practice here, and I'm offering discounted or potentially free coaching, and we could talk about anything that is important. So please reach out. So that's the third chapter. I will see you very soon with the next one. But until then, may the Q source be with you, and live long and prosper.